My name is Norma Van Horn, and I visualize a world in which everyone has access to inner peace. So I'm back here in the woods today, outside my home in Austin, Texas. Welcome to the real world. I'm here today to talk about what to do when you get stuck in your spiritual practice. If you're knocking up against something that you're ready to grow through, but because you're not sure what's on the other side of it, it can feel really scary and like, oh, I don't know what's on the other side. I'm not sure I really want that. So let me give you some ideas to consider, see if they're true for you, about the size and shape of that unknown. So one of the things that gets in the way when we are at that precipice, at that space, is the energy of loyalty. So our culture really admires the energy of loyalty. We consider it to be this virtue. And I believe that spiritually, loyalty is actually the energy of fear. And fear is the energy of stagnation, it's outside the flow of life. And what I mean by that is when we are operating from the energy of loyalty to the cultural conditioning, to the people that raised us, to any factor at all, we are behaving in ways that go against our truth because we are doing something to maintain good standing with some external thing. People, generally people, organizations, memberships, things like that. And so we are doing something that we would not be doing if we were being true to ourselves. And remember, when we're back in the woods, there's only the language of energy, which is the language of true and untrue, which is why the woods is such a great place to connect with ourselves. So when we're doing something out of the energy of loyalty, we're stuck. We are not doing what is true for us so that we can maintain our standing in the group. We're not going to be rejected. The opposite of that is the energy of life. The energy of life just flows freely, and it trusts our yeses and follows them, and trusts that we're not actually responsible for anybody else's well-being. That's their job. Our job is to take responsibility for our well-being. And can you see, when we're following the energy of loyalty, we're taking responsibility for somebody else's well-being, because if we upset them, then we'll be rejected. And so we're manipulating, actually, and that's all the energy of fear. It does not flow with the energy of life. So that's the energy of loyalty. So when we are, versus the energy of life, which is just flowing and trusting, following our yeses, and then trusting that when we follow our yeses, that we will find the people with whom the action, alignment, whatever, is also a yes. And when two yeses come together, it is nuclear. It's the power of the universe. It's the power of creation when two yeses come together. But when we are following loyalty, it's a yes and a no coming together because we're not doing what's true for us. And there's no spark in a yes and a no coming together. It's just, there's nothing to spark with. It's dead wood. It's a dead ball. And same is true for two no's coming together. So when we get to that place, coming back full circle, when we get to that place where we're on the precipice of looking at our shadow and looking at those wounds that we carry, then that's where we sometimes get stuck because we don't know what's on the other side of it. And that's where we're stuck in the energy of loyalty. And what I mean by that is in our family of origin, there was somebody who modeled for us the energy of no, the energy of loyalty, the energy of stuckness, the energy of not trusting our truth. And when we don't trust our truth, and then we're not able to take complete responsibility for our well-being, we look externally for things to fill us, to make us complete. We look for people to behave in a particular way so that we can be peaceful. And that's all the same dynamic. And somebody in our family modeled this for us. And they said, you're going to make me happy. I'm going to control you and you're going to make me happy. You have the power to pull me out of my center. I outsource my well-being to your behavior. And so what we do then, and so somebody modeled this for us, and that's why we don't want to let go of whatever that pain is, whatever that shadow is, because we are operating out of the energy of loyalty. Somebody, and we've taken on that pattern, that way of relating to life that is, you're responsible for my well-being and I'm responsible for yours, that whole trade-off. And so we can just look in our family of origin and see who did not take responsibility for their own well-being, who modeled for me that energy of stuck, that way of relating to life that is stuck, that is not flowing with the energy of life and just following yeses and following truth. Who was that? Who looked to others for their well-being instead of embodying their own wholeness? And then when we can see, oh yeah, somebody, this mom, dad, somebody modeled for me this pattern, this way of relating to life that is of stuck energy, of not wanting to, not trusting the energy of life, and just looking externally for their needs to get met. So then we can just say, yeah, me too, me too, me too, mom, me too, dad. And when we then see that we are just, by not looking at our patterns, we are perpetuating that way of relating to life. That's it. That's it. And so once we see that, then we have a choice. Do we want to continue to perpetuate that pattern of being vulnerable to not trusting life, being vulnerable to the behavior and actions of others, being vulnerable to not being able to control life around us because we don't trust ourselves to, we don't yet trust ourselves to embody our wholeness and follow our yeses and flow with the energy of life. So we can just say, yep, me too. And then somehow that gives that fear of looking at those patterns, it gives it a little more shape and a little more definition, and we can see it's just this inherited, modeled way of relating to life that we are continuing to perpetuate. So instead, then we can look at it more peacefully, and we can make the choice to grow up, because that is what looking at shadow, looking at inherited pain, looking at trauma, looking at those stuck energies, that's the invitation. It's to grow up and to take complete responsibility for the quality of the energy that we hold in this life, instead of looking externally for others to fill us. Then we embody our own wholeness instead. So I hope this makes sense. If you have any questions, reach out. I'd love to chat. And let this be a reminder that there's another way to relate to life. Blue skies.